and now we're cutting. And you know what? I'm going to make some people uncomfortable by doing that, but I'm not going to give up on the American people. And this isn't the end. This doesn't solve all the problems. This is the first step. I'm going to announce a commission coming forward from the Speaker, from bipartisan on both sides of the aisle. We only got to look at 11% of the budget to find these cuts. We have to look at the entire budget.
Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is real salty over the fact that the Republican Party was unable to take Social Security and Medicare, put it on the chopping block, and cut or partially privatize these programs, something that they have been pretty upfront about before. But all of a sudden they pretended as though, no, we would never touch the third rail. We would never touch these wildly popular programs. In fact, they did that fairly recently. Stick around for the example. But first, let's hear more from McCarthy on just how egregious he finds it that they're unable to cut programs that we, the American people, have paid into.
We only got to look at 11% of the budget to find these cuts. We have to look at the entire budget. The Congress has done this before.
Why didn't you see the whole budget?
Because the president walled off all the others. The majority driver of the budget is mandatory spending. It's Medicare, Social Security, interest on the debt. So you only have 11% to look at this budget. But we were able to increase our defense to protect us.
I mean, God forbid we ever make the mistake of not increasing defense spending, which is getting ever so close to $1 trillion a year. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting that he is openly admitting, like, we should give ourselves a pat on the back, am I right? I mean, we managed to increase spending on defense while cutting some social spending programs that help the poor, that help ordinary Americans. But God, I'd really like to do more. I'd really like to cut Social Security and Medicare, which we have paid into. Look at your pay stub right now. Look at how much of your hard-earned money went towards Social Security and Medicare. These are universal programs that are incredibly popular for a reason, and they're called entitlements because we paid into them and we are entitled to them. Now, with that said, just want to remind you about the conduct we saw from the Republican Party during Biden's State of the Union address, because Biden called them out on their attempts to cut Social Security and Medicare. And here's how they reacted to that.
Some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I
mean, my favorite part about that video is that clown, Marjorie Greene, liar. Come on, really? We're stupid? You think we're stupid? I mean, they lost it because they did not want to be called out on the public stage in regard to what their priorities are, which is cutting Social Security and Medicare. And now you have House Speaker Kevin McCarthy reflecting on that and feeling real salty about the fact that he was unable to accomplish really the creme de la creme for the Republican Party, which is cutting these programs or partially privatizing these programs. By the way, Medicare is already partially privatized through Medicare Advantage, something that we've talked about on this show quite a bit. That has led to, private insurers, going out of their way to overcharge our Medicare system and fatten their pockets. So there's already an issue with privatizing Medicare to some extent, but they want to do all sorts of things, like raise the retirement age to 70 years old. Again, raise the retirement age to 70 years old for Social Security, a program that we paid into. And the argument is, well, it's not solvent. It's not solvent. What are we gonna do? We can't stay afloat with Social Security. It's just a costly program, except there is a solution. I'll get to that in just a moment. Before I do though, let's talk a little bit about why Republicans had that reaction after they were called out by President Biden during his State of the Union address. In April, Associated Press and NORC did a poll. They wanted to see where the hearts and minds of American voters were when it came to Social Security and Medicare. Do they favor these programs? Are they open to potentially cutting these programs or raising the retirement age? Let me give you the results. 79% say they oppose reducing the size of Social Security benefits, and 67% are against raising monthly premiums for Medicare. About 65 million older and disabled people access government-sponsored health insurance through Medicare and rely on monthly payments from Social Security. Let me just quickly give you this side note because it's important. Part of the reason why Medicare and Social Security is considered the third rail, part of the reason why it's such a popular program that's incredibly difficult to cut or privatize, is because it's universal. It's because everyone, regardless of what their income happens to be, will benefit from these programs once they hit a certain age. So when we're thinking about policies that would improve material conditions for Americans, we need to think about it in a way that will make the policy foolproof and will make it difficult to reverse the policy. I think the magic of Social Security and Medicare is the fact that it is a universal program. With that said, let's get to some more results from this incredible poll. So the same AP NORC poll found that a majority, 58% of respondents, support the idea of increasing taxes on households making over $400,000 yearly to pay for Medicare. Now, that was something that President Biden tepidly suggested, tepidly proposed. Of course, he didn't fight for it or do anything about it, but I would love to see a Democrat actually put their money where their mouth is. Here's some more interesting data from this poll. Some Republicans have floated the idea of raising the eligibility age for Social Security and Medicare to keep the programs solvent or flush. But a majority of Americans overwhelmingly reject that too. In fact, 3/4 of Americans say they oppose raising the eligibility age for Social Security benefits from 67 to 70 years old. And 7 in 10 oppose raising the eligibility age for Medicare benefits from 65 to 67. And that doesn't surprise me at all. Again, if it's something that you have paid into, if it's something that you are entitled to, the idea that the Republican Party should be able to privatize or cut those programs is ridiculous. But here's a very simple solution. If you're genuinely concerned about funding Social Security, we could just do away with the tax cap that the wealthy benefit from. So if you look at your pay stubs, you'll notice the amount you get taxed for Social Security specifically. The vast majority of Americans will be taxed over the entirety of their yearly income. But for wealthy people, once they hit a certain amount of money in income each year, Social Security, they stop getting taxed for Social Security. So I looked up the chart from the Social Security Administration to see what the cap is for this year. And if you can see in 2023, anyone making above $160,200 will no longer be taxed for Social Security above that amount. So in other words, for wealthier people, for high income earners, the percentage of income that they contribute to Social Security is obviously much lower than what ordinary people making an ordinary salary contribute. So why don't we just do away with the tax cap? Problem solved. But you'll never hear Republicans make that point or even offer up that solution because they love tax cuts. They benefit from the tax cuts themselves. But what's even worse is that the corporate wing of the Democratic Party, and let's be clear, the corporate wing of the Democratic Party dominates the Democratic Party. They also don't suggest it, ever. I never hear them suggest that. So the idea that we need to hurt individuals, hurt ordinary Americans who A, love these programs and B, paid into these programs is just flat out wrong, needs to be called out. And while you might be called out here on this show, you're not gonna hear it in corporate press, ever, ever. They engage in the theater themselves. They pretend like it's an urgent matter and we need to cut Social Security or privatize it immediately or raise the retirement age. But there's a simple solution, and that solution is never delivered to the American people.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.